So I should continue to look forward, or should I glance at you ever? Or...
Oh, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You
Okay.
ready? Mm-hmm. Good afternoon, and we are here at Congressman Gerald Connolly's Prince William County office, and we are here with Reverend Smith, and it is approximately 12:20, and it's on Friday, April 18th. Reverend Smith, on behalf of Congressman Gerald Connolly, George Mason University, their Folk Life Department, the Library of Congress, and myself, Marion Dobbins, I'm an intern at George Mason, we would like to thank you for participating in the Northern Virginia Civil Rights Archives. As you're well aware, this archives is to collect testimonies of those persons who were involved with the civil rights struggle so that future generations, scholars, and historians will understand all that went into giving equal rights to African Americans. And those testimonies will be stored at George Mason University Archives, along with the Library of Congress and the libraries at Prince William County and Fairfax County. So again, on behalf of Congressman Gerald Connolly, I want to thank you for participating in this project. Are you ready to get started?
Ready to get started.
All right, so let's start first by giving your full name and date of birth.
My name is Kenneth Smith. I was born January 26, 1942.
And where were you born, Reverend Smith?
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, in a black enclave called Edgewood.
And your mother and father, were they born there?
Yes.
And what were their educational level and occupation?
My mom, high school graduate. I'm not sure about my father. My father died when I was about 9 years old. My mom was a day worker, cleaned white people houses. That's what she did.
Okay. And were you aware of segregation at a young age?
Yes. I can remember going with my mom to Rich's department store. And going to the store, I remember there was a black and white water fountain. And I remember that the black water fountain always looked like it was ill kept. It was always dirty. And I always wanted to sort of drink out of the white water fountain because it always looked clean. And I wondered if the water was better or colder or whatever. But my mom always made sure that I knew that I was not supposed to drink out of the white fountain. I was supposed to drink out of the black fountain. Another occasion was when my older brother had left home, and I was sort of the older sibling left home, and a fella came to collect for the insurance. And that time you paid 25 cents a month, a week or something for insurance. And the guy was a white guy, and he came and he asked for my mom, and my mother didn't have the 25 cents or whatever it was, and so she told me to go tell him she wasn't at home. And when I went to tell him, he said to me, "I know Forrest," that was my mom's name, "is back there. You go back there and get her." And I said she's not here. And so he left after that. But my mom reminded me that I should not talk to white people that way, that I should have found a better way to tell him that she was not there. So, and in the community, there was a way of maturation that people sort of help you to understand what your place was and how you were to stay in your place.
So talk a little bit about your place. Where was your place?
Your place was, we lived in a sort of a black enclave called Edgewood, and in that we had barber shop, restaurants, a pharmacy, grocery stores, and it was sort of expected that most of your activity would be in there. And when you would leave, we went to cut grass on Saturdays or whatever to make money, or white people would come and pick up people off the block and take you to go moving furniture or cutting grass or whatever. But you sort of knew that your place were there in that black enclave or to another black enclave, but there were places that you just did not go.
Was it fear of violence that you did not go there?
Correct. That you knew that you would be either stopped or you'd be questioned why you were here, and you would have to give some reasonable reason why you were out of your place, kind of.
Did you ever know of any violence, KKK violence, lynchings, anything like that when you were growing up?
I knew of no lynching, but we did have KKK in our area, and we were told, and again, this kind of telling you how to stay in your place, kind of that if something would happen, there's nobody you could call because the police were probably KKK themselves. And so you sort of stayed within your area to make sure that you did not violate anything that would cause the police to come or whatever. Because I did witness, and the police would do this, they would come sometime with dogs, and they would come we call it the corner. That was a sort of a melting pot area within Edgewood. And they would come sometimes, and people would be congregated there on the block, and they would come out with the dogs, and they'd put the dogs on people to let them know, or I call it terrorism now, that they would do with the dogs with people on the corner. I witnessed that myself. And I also witnessed that if they would pick someone up for something, maybe they thought you had done something, they would pick you up and they would beat you before they would take you to the police department, because they brought people back. I witnessed them bringing back black people back to the corner where they picked them up, and the person would be beat, and you could see how they'd been beaten all up when they brought them back. Mm-hmm.
Were a lot of these things that people were picked up for frivolous?
Yes. It was just something that they said somebody did this or whatever, and they looked like this person, and they would just pick them up and take them. And I guess the beating was to try to make them say they did it or whatever. I'm not really sure.
So, with regards to your parents living in this environment, did they ever register to vote, or did they ever try to vote?
Voting was not an issue that I remember people giving a lot of effort to. And I think one of the reasons is because they felt voting in their mind would not change anything, because the options that they had were about the same. It's 6 one way and a half dozen the other. I mean, you had 2 white people and they were going to do the same thing, no matter which one of them you voted for. So they didn't see any great, they didn't see anything going to be changed by their voting. And there were not a lot of, I don't remember a lot of activists in our community. I mean, people just sort of live their lives and just try to not upset things. Mm-hmm.
Keep in their place, as you say.
Stand in their place.
How did the church respond to this inequality?
I think the church tried their very best to get things changed, and it was in the church, I think, that provided, particularly the young people, a sense of personhood. I remember whatever little speaking skills I have, I got them in the church. Feeling good about myself, I got in the church, because I used to wonder why did I have to pass a number of schools to get to my high school. I mean, I passed a whole bunch of white schools getting my high school. And I used to wonder, why is this? And it sort of made me think that I was less than something, but the church tend to affirm persons and made you feel good about yourself, because we had plays and things that we did inside the church. And the church, I think, tried its very best to look at things that were happening within the community, but they were somewhat limited both in finances and resources and people who had power to get things changed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about schools. What was your school like as far as the building versus the white building, the accommodations, the textbooks? What was it like?
That was, again, one of these kind of things of affirming and reaffirming your personhood and the fact that you were less than. Because I remember in high school, whenever we would get desks, we had the little desk with the little thing in front that you wrote right on. It would always be, the desks would never be new. They'd be new to us, but not new in the sense of being a new desk. And it would always have writing on the desk from the white schools. And the books that we got were always used books. They were never new books. They were always books from the white schools, because the kids would have written on the textbooks, and you could see what school it came from another white school to our school. And the facilities were always less than what the white schools were. You pass the white schools, you see the lawn mowed, meticulously, the buildings painted, whatever, and you go to our school, and our school was always ill kept for whatever reason. And we never had, in my mind, as I can remember, up-to-date equipment. It was always breaking, or not enough of it, or whatever.
What kind of leisure things were you able to do during segregation? Could you go to the movies, or?
Yes, we could go to the movie. I remember we call it Fox Theater, but we'd always have to go in the back, and we sat in the balcony. And I always wondered, why do we have to go in the back, and why do we have to sit in the balcony when we're paying the same amount of money for the ticket as the white people were? But we would always have to go in the back, and if you tried to go in the front, you were challenged, or if there were adults with you, they would always tell you, no, you can't do that, you need to go in the back and go up in the balcony.
So the adults seem to be very accommodationalist.
Yes. I mean, that was a kind of maturation for the children, is that they would sort of tell you the kind of things that you would. And I think, in retrospect, I think it was survival, because there were no